is the Wrestling Conscious channel where we give you some common sense and suplex that in the modern day wrestling era and the culture. Now, I normally do reviews. I usually talk about different things which people don't want to talk about or afraid to talk about. And I'm at this stage in my YouTube career. Yes, my YouTube career where I can say what the F I like. And they have minimum consequences. Now, I just want to preface this before you say, I'm just a hater. I'm just a hater. Listen, I understand. I only got X amount of views. I understand. I haven't not been doing it this long. But let me tell you, I've been analyzing in my head and with my friends about wrestling life since I was a teenager. So I've got about 20 years of experience, but just not on this platform, okay? Now, I consume a hell of a lot of wrestling content. And I watch a lot of different wrestling content creators and podcasts. And let me say, these people who I've mentioned and put on the thumbnail, I respect their craft. I respect their consistency. I respect their game. I respect that they can make a living out of it. I'm not taking any money from them. But if they are in a position of influence and power, just be honest. Honest how much you can be honest. Now, I understand there's a job and there is politics, right? Even in your day-to-day 9-to-5 job. If you have a manager or whatever, you cannot just say whatever you like because there'll be consequences and you might not have a job. Sometimes you want to tell someone, I don't want to do it, but you find a way of saying you don't want to do it. And you put it back on, maybe if we can revisit this, maybe we can circle back. So let me circle back and talk about these content creators. And what I find is a common theme that I think there's a little syndicate. I think there's some Illuminati stuff going on. No, I don't really. But what I do think is a commonality, they're not being honest. And I think when you're a YouTube or podcast creator, to a certain influence, they're not being honest about the product and they should be helped, the WWE product, and they should be held responsible. Now, I know they go to the press conferences. I know that they need to keep all the wrestling and WWE happy so they can have access to the wrestlers and have good content, and the content help their views and help sponsorship. But if you're at that level, and if I'm watching your content every week and you're saying WWE wrestling is amazing every 2 seconds and say how much you loved it, and I know, and there is a big consensus, smarks or no smarks, that this is garbage, you are not doing the wrestling community and you're not doing the wrestlers it's such a disservice. And I understand I've only officially on YouTube just got in the game, but I do think there's a sense of responsibility with these content creators to be more honest, and you can polish the honestness how much you want about, because if you're not being honest about the product, if the wrestlers and the community is not getting proper feedback how to be better, that's why we're having crappy promos. That's why I'm talking about WWE. That's why we have generic music for everyone's theme tunes, more or less. That's why the quality of storytelling, no matter how much you want to say Triple H Levesque era, has gone down because you're not being honest. I'm holding you guys responsible. All right, creative is like, okay, out of percentage, how much honesty? So Triple H and his people, I think you have 60% of to blame of what's happening with your product. These people and the bigger podcast people, the people who have podcasts who are not wrestlers or tied to the business, who are a bit independent, they can hold people accountable in a nice, positive way. And they're not doing that because they know they're not going to get invited to the press scrums and media scrums, and they know they're not going to access to wrestlers. But I'd rather you get more respect being honest. But then again, I understand you got bills to pay. You probably employing people. You got to play, people to edit and stuff like that. And I'm hoping when I become a big YouTuber creator, I will have a loyal audience who respects my honesty. And I'm not here to do shoots. I'm not here to lie and inflate stories. I'm here to make the product the best we can. Because if I have children, I want them to be like, Mom, I love this product. And a generational thing. Wrestling can be a generational thing. And if I have kids and I want them to watch this, no. I want wrestling as something, as a legacy thing that people can be proud of for generations to generations. And I feel that there is a star gap. There is a big star gap in WWE. I don't know who the future of the WWE is for the next generation, for the next 5 or 10 years. Because the way how we are not being honest about the product. And I don't want you to say just get the indie marks and say, oh, Karrion Kross. No. We have to be honest with the system. We got to be honest with the monopoly of how WWE are having wrestlers. There's no variety. They're churning out these wrestlers, athletes, into generic bill. WWE is not just a wrestling company. It's not just entertainment. They're competing with every aspect of entertainment. Disney, Netflix. I don't know on Netflix, but they're competing with everything to hold our attention. And what I feel what they do, I know the model is content. They care about how many impressions and views we have, but actually the story, actually the gimmicks and the character work, what get us there. Long-term storytelling is not just one strategy. We need characters to last. What is the 10-year, 5-year plan for these characters? And stick to it and let them have some consistency, okay? Understand there needs to be some organic stuff what needs to happen. So let me summarize. You see the Chris Van Vliet, you see the Not Sam, you see the Rosenberg, you see Busted Open, you see What Culture, and you see Simon Miller. I respect their craft of consistency. They've been doing it for years. They've built these beautiful relationships. But you have a responsibility not to just kiss wrestlers' ass and WWE's ass. And be honest. And not show a big bias to WWE. Be honest. You owe your fans. You owe the wrestling culture. You owe the next generation of wrestling fans and next generation of wrestlers who's getting into this business. If I am taking bumps, if I'm putting my body through trauma again for entertainment, I need to know how can I make a really good living. And if you're not helping people to find out how to make a really good living through wrestling and showing people what they really want and what they really feel about wrestling and how to have longevity in this game, you're doing a big disservice and you're ruling wrestling. Yes, you all have a 40% stake in this. And, I hope when I become bigger, I can stay true to this, even with the money we're coming in, and I'll be like, yeah, make it right. But I will hopefully have my integrity to make sure that I can still be honest about wrestling to help the product to be better and not just shoot on people. This is the Wrestling Conscience, giving you that common sense and suplexing some critical thinking in these wrestling streets. Over